this shunt becomes the left brachiocephalic vein. And this brachiocephalic vein develops when the caudal part of the left anterior cardinal vein degenerates. Okay, so a part of the left anterior cardinal vein must degenerate, and after that, this shunt becomes the left brachiocephalic vein. So over here you can see the same thing. You have the two anterior cardinal veins, and you got the shunt in between, which is the left brachiocephalic vein, shunting blood from the left anterior cardinal into the right anterior cardinal. So now let's talk about the posterior cardinal veins. These posterior cardinal veins develop as the vessels of the mesonephric kidneys, or the interim kidneys, or the temporary kidneys, whatever you want to call them, but it basically means they develop as the vessels of the temporary kidneys. And when these kidneys disappear, these vessels also disappear. So both these posterior cardinal veins are going to disappear, but the remnants are going to form the root of the azygous vein and the common iliac vein. So let me show you where is this root of the azygous vein. Here's the root of the azygous vein in blue, and at the bottom you have the common iliac vein, also in blue. And this common iliac vein was formed when the two ends at the bottom of the posterior cardinal vein, they fused together. So these are the remnants of the posterior cardinal veins. So once the posterior cardinal veins disappear, some new veins are going to take its place, and these veins are the subcardinal veins on the inside and the supracardinal veins on the outside. In this diagram, the posterior cardinal veins are beginning to disappear, but they haven't yet completely. In this diagram, you can see that the posterior cardinal veins have disappeared more, except for the topmost parts and the bottom part. And in this diagram, the two subcardinal veins are connected by a subcardinal anastomosis, and on both sides, the subcardinal and the supracardinal veins are connected by a subsupracardinal anastomosis. Alright, so you have two anastomoses, a subcardinal and a subsupracardinal anastomosis. So now let's talk about the derivatives of the subcardinal and supracardinal veins. In the red part, you have the derivatives of the subcardinal veins, and these derivatives are L, S, G, and I. So the subcardinal veins are going to form the stem of the left renal vein, and both suprarenal veins, both gonadal veins, and lastly a segment of the inferior vena cava. So you can remember this as lions see goats ice skating, or whatever you want to make. It's up to you, but I'm gonna remember it as lions see goats ice skating. So let's repeat that. The derivatives of the supracardinal veins are the stem of the left renal vein, okay, and the suprarenal veins, the gonadal veins, and lastly a segment of the inferior vena cava. I forgot to mention this in the video, but in yellow you can see the derivatives of the supracardinal veins in yellow, and these are part of the azygous vein, the hemizygous vein, and a segment of the inferior vena cava. And caudal to the kidneys, the left supracardinal vein degenerates, as you can see over here, and the right supracardinal vein, it forms the lower part of the inferior vena cava. So all the yellow derivatives, they all arise from the supracardinal veins. So you have the azygous, the hemizygous, the degeneration of the left supracardinal vein, and the persistence of the right supracardinal vein as a segment of the inferior vena cava. So now we're going to talk about the superior and the inferior vena cava individually. Over here you can see the superior vena cava, and as you know, this vein is on the right side of the body. So it's going to be derived from two veins which are also on the right side, and these are the right common cardinal and the right anterior cardinal. Okay, the right common cardinal over here and the right anterior cardinal. So the inferior vena cava has 4 segments, 1 related to the liver and 3 related to the kidneys. These are hepatic, prerenal, renal, and postrenal. And so once you write these 4 down, HPRP, in front of them you want to write H sub, after sub, write supra, and between sub and supra you have subsupra. Okay, so let me explain what all of this means. One thing I forgot to mention is that beside sub and supra, you want to write right and right. This right means that the veins that are going to form these segments are going to be on the right side, because obviously the inferior vena cava has to enter the heart from the right side. So first of all, you have the hepatic segment, which is obviously close to the liver, so it develops from the hepatic vein and the hepatic sinusoids. Then you have the prerenal segment, and this prerenal segment is derived from the right subcardinal vein. Okay, and then you have the renal segment. This renal segment is derived from the supracardinal anastomosis. And lastly, you have the postrenal segment, and this is derived from the right supracardinal vein. Okay, so let's repeat that. The hepatic the hepatic segment from the hepatic vein and the hepatic sinusoids. The prerenal segment is derived from the right subcardinal, and if you jump from this area to this area, you have the postrenal segment, which develops from right supracardinal. So on the second position you have right subcardinal, and at the last position you have right supracardinal, and between them you have the subsupracardinal anastomosis.